Hello, welcome to the Year 1 curriculum evening about reading. So our aims for this evening are to share our expectations for home reading and suggest ways to help you make it happen, explain the Year 1 reading curriculum objectives. We're going to talk you through the Year 1 phonics screening tests, and then we'll talk about how we teach reading lessons in Year 1. So what does reading look like at OWPS and in Year 1 particularly? So we have 5 sessions of reading and they're split into 3 sessions of 30 minutes each of whole class reading, a taught session. And then there are 2 sessions. We have 30 minutes where we will take your children out and practice one-to-one reading, either with the class teacher or with a teaching assistant. We also have what we call the power of reading text that we will be sharing with the children in our English lessons. As I said, we have the whole class reading lessons, and then we will continue to work with the children on their colour band books, which are based on their phonics ability. And then every fortnight, the children will visit the library and they'll be able to pick a book that they would like to read or share with you. So some of the books that we will be looking at in Year 1 during our English lessons are, they're from the group that are called the Power of Reading books. So examples are Traction Man, we'll be going into Old Bear, The Jolly Postman going up to Christmas, and then next term we'll be looking at Bigu. So these are carefully selected fiction books. We'll also be looking at non-fiction books as well, and where possible, where appropriate, we will link them to our topic. The texts are pitched slightly above the children's own reading ability so that we are exposing them to higher leveled reading. So in our actual reading sessions, as I said, we split them into 3 sections. So the first session, which will usually be on a Monday, is all about getting the children to understand vocabulary and the knowledge that they will need to be able to access the books that we're looking at. So we will explore, decode, look up any new vocabulary that the children are unsure of, and look at any knowledge that they may need to understand in order to access the book. This will support the children with accessing and understanding the text. So we teach the vocabulary as a separate session and also the knowledge. And the way we do that is looking through dictionaries, online dictionaries. We might act out words. We might use some worksheets where we look at the definition of the word, how the word fits into a sentence, what words might mean the same things, what words might mean the opposite. And then most of the books that we'll be looking at are fiction texts, but we might look at where the non-fiction part of that comes in. So we might look at non-fiction books. So, for example, the stories that we're reading at the moment are all based on toys and toys in the past. So we might look at some non-fiction books about historical text. We might even look at YouTube clips to get the children's understanding of what they are going to be coming across. So once the children have got an understanding of what the text is going to be about and the words that they'll be coming into, we'll have our session 2, which is a just read session. We begin this by revisiting the vocabulary and the knowledge that we looked at the previous day. The teacher will then read the text to the children, and the children are then able to listen and enjoy that text. The teacher then rereads the text, and the children will listen out for the vocabulary and the knowledge that we've taught them in that previous lesson. And we also have knowledge organisers. These are just ways of showing what we found out from the text. So it might be the characters that we've come across, the plot of the story, the themes of the story. So is it about friendships? Is it about forgiving? All of those sorts of things, and the key vocabulary that they will come across. And we'll complete those as a whole class. Session 3 is a close read. So we take a small section of what we've read the day before. That might just be a paragraph, it might be a page, and we look at text-dependent questions. Now, these are really important. Text-dependent questions are questions that they must be able to answer only from reading the text. So it's not from their general knowledge, not from what they might already know. They must be able to find the answer in the text. We use the 5 basic reading skills, so looking at the vocabulary, S for sequencing, R is for retrieval, can they find the answers from the text? I is for inference, can we work out what is being asked, what is being said? And P is prediction, what do we think is going to happen next? So we'll ask a range of these sorts of questions, and the children will have time to discuss these as a group or in partners and search for the evidence in the text. And as a class, we will then create a class journal. So we will write our answers all together. And the final 2 sessions in the week, as I said, we will be taking children out to practice their one-to-one independent reading. So how can you support us at home? Well, our expectations are that you read with your child at least 5 times a week, and please write in your reading diary so we know that that has happened. Discuss the reading with them. So ask questions about characters, the meanings of unusual words, and explain what to do, or ask them to explain what to do. As we said, please record this in your reading diary. It doesn't have to necessarily be their reading book, their colour bound book. It could be a magazine that they're really interested in, a comic, any other ideas?
Well, I'm going to talk about that on the next slide. So all of those ideas are coming. Don't worry, we've got lots of ideas for you about the things that you can read at home with your children. So keep listening.
So some children might prefer to read independently rather than reading to you. However, the sharing of and the discussion of the books is really crucial to their learning. They will take home a book-banned book, and we ask that you read with them 3 times?
2 or 3 times, depending on the complexity.
They change it. And they might bring home a library book as well. Now, this might be a big chapter book that they can't possibly be reading independently, but it might be a book that you share with them at bedtime. It could be a great big, because they like the look of it. I think one child wanted to take home the biggest atlas that they could find because it was a big book in the library. And as we said, books from home or magazines or comics. So please make sure your child has their book in school and their diary in school every day.
So this really is just to give you some more ideas about what you can read at home. As Miss Wyatt has said, it doesn't have to be that colour band book that you just read with them. So Oxford Owl have a fantastic e-book library that you can access online through your tablet, through your computer. You can set up a reading den, you know, make it a nice place to read at home. Make it a special place where you've got some quality time for just you and your child, and it's feeling cosy and a special welcoming time. Go and visit your local library. You know, buy magazines. There's absolutely nothing wrong with children reading magazines and cartoons and comics. They're still a valid form of reading. Reading anything on an iPad, on a Kindle, all of that still counts. It doesn't have to be a paper physical book that's read to them, or you're reading to them or they're reading to you. Set up a Zoom meeting between you and grandparents and get your child to read to grandparents over Zoom, you know, or aunties or uncles or another friend. That's a fabulous way of sharing reading, especially in COVID. If there are people you can't be with right now, read to them over the internet. You know, that's just amazing. There are various apps which you can get. Some of them are for free, some of them you have to pay for. Teach Your Monster to Read is a fabulous app that we would recommend. That if you can get access to that, again, that's going to help encourage your child to read, promote their interest in reading and develop that. Cooking is fabulous. You know, we've got a pancake recipe there. The more things that you can do together that involve reading the instructions on that new video game you've just bought, it's all reading, it all counts. And again, you know, maybe find some reading bingo and have a go at playing Ringo. Can you cross off reading, draw a picture of what you read. Can you cross off, read a book that mum or dad suggests? You know, this one's an American one, but I'm sure you can find lots of reading bingo games out there on the internet that you can have fun crossing off the different things over the course of a week or 2 weeks or a month. So please don't think that reading has to just be books and books that we've sent home. It doesn't just have to be your child reading to you. It can be you reading to your child, but obviously we want to see a mix of that. It can't just be you reading to your child every night. We want to hear your child reading to you as well. So those are some ideas of the ways that you can access texts and literature without it just being a paper book. So these again are the questions that Miss Wyatt has already talked to you about, those kind of things that we're looking for when we're doing our reading sessions with the children in school. And these next 5 slides give you some ideas of the kind of questions that you might want to ask about vocabulary and inference and all of those things. So looking at words, you know, which words has the author used to make you feel happy or angry or worried or frightened or nervous? Why is this word written in bold, in black print? Why is it written in capital letters? Why is it bigger? What do you think the author means by that? Can you think of another way of saying whatever the phrase is? All of those are words that build up the children's vocabulary and give them an understanding of how vocabulary works and how it's working in that particular story. Some retrieval questions. So where is this story set? Who is the main character? How is the dilemma resolved? What happened when? What happened to make? And again, you're asking them to retrieve information from the text. And although this might seem complicated in year 1, obviously as they go through the school, these are the skills that they're practicing for year 2 for their SATs and for year 6 for their SATs. So if we can get them used to now actually looking at what they're reading and picking out those bits, that really helps them in their journey to become a fluent reader who is reading for meaning and understanding. There are questions on sequencing. So where does the story start? What was the first, second, last step in instructions if it's a non-fiction text? You know, give me 20 words, pretend to send a tweet or something. Give me 20 words to sum up this story or this non-fiction text. What did you find out first? Put these sentences in the order they happened, and all of those are skills that as adults we don't think about, but some children find it really difficult to organise, to sequence a story. And of course, if you can sequence it, you can then write it. So again, all of these reading skills are helping to build their writing skills at the same time. Questions about inference. Inference is when something isn't obvious in a text, it's implied, and you've got to find what is hidden in that text. So why do you think the character is saying or thinking or feeling something at this point? Why would they be doing that? What do you think the word means? Why do you think that? Can we work out how this character feels about this? So have a look, you know, what are the clues in the text that will help you understand that? And again, some children find that really difficult to extract that knowledge from the text unless you give them practice at looking for those what questions and why questions. Which bit made you feel happy? Which bit made you feel sad? You know, get them to think about those kind of things in the texts they're reading. And finally, I think predicting Pip, those questions might be, you know, what do you think will happen next? What sentence or phrase do you think will come next? What could happen when? And again, it's trying to work out where that story is going. It's getting that knowledge of how stories work, that there's a beginning, a middle and an end, and there's normally a resolution at the end. What do you think might happen next? Write 3 questions you'd like to find the answers to in the text. All of those are useful things to get your children thinking about. It's not just how quickly can they decode, read the words, it's do they understand what they've read? And those are the skills that we're practicing when we're teaching reading as a class, and that's what we would like you to do at home as well. So this is, if you like, the dry bit. This is the year 1 curriculum. This is what it says in the national curriculum that pupils need to be able to do in year 1. So using their phonics knowledge to decode words until automatic decoding has become embedded and reading is fluent. As adults, we don't sound talk words anymore. We can look and we've got that visual recognition of what that word says. We're expecting our year 1 children to use their phonics knowledge, the things that we're teaching them daily, to read until their reading does become automatic. We expect them to read accurately by blending the sounds together, so putting those sounds together that they can see to hear that word, using the sounds that we've taught so far. To read words of 2 or more syllables, To read words containing common suffixes, that's bits that are coming at the beginning of words and suffixes at the end of words and prefixes at the beginning of words. To read common exception words, so that will be words where they don't match the sound pattern of the sounds that are in them. To read most words quickly and accurately without overt, obvious sounding and blending. We're looking at children becoming fluent readers. So for them to use their sound talking where necessary, but when they don't need to use it anymore, they don't need to continue sounding a word out. If they know what that word says, they don't need to sound it out anymore. We're looking for them to be able to read words that are matched to their improving phonics knowledge, which is why we continually check where their phonics knowledge is at to make sure the books that we're sending home match what we know the children can do. And again, to reread books, that's really important. It does say it in the curriculum because rereading builds up fluency and builds up confidence. And that's what we're looking for, fluent and confident readers. But we're also looking for comprehension too, all those things about what they understand. So pupils should be taught to develop pleasure in reading. We want reading to be pleasurable. We want them to have motivation to read and to understand vocabulary by listening to and discussing poems, stories, non-fiction at a level beyond that which they can read independently. So that's why the texts that we choose are challenging texts, because it needs to extend them beyond their own comfort levels of what they can read. To think about what they read and link it to their own experiences, to become familiar with key stories, fairy stories, traditional tales. That's an important part of our cultural literary heritage that we will keep going. To recognise and join in with predictable phrases, and we all have stories that we read where we know the phrases that are coming up and we can join in, and that's part of developing our pleasure in reading. To learn to appreciate rhymes and poems and to recite some by heart. We will be learning some poetry this year. We will make sure that their reading diet consists of fiction, non-fiction, poetry, different types of texts. To discuss word meanings. So again, you can see where our whole class reading comes in, that we're looking at what words mean. We're linking them to words that we already know. We also want children to understand both the books that they can read accurately and fluently and those they listen to by drawing on what they already know, or on background information and vocabulary provided by us, the teacher. There is some direct instruction going on. To talk about the title and the events and the significance of the title. Why is the book called that? To check that the text makes sense to them as they read, and to correct inaccurate reading. If you're reading something and you're conscious of the fact that actually that's made no sense to you, go back and read it again. You know, you might have misread a word in there, you might have miscued something in there. To predict what might happen on the basis of what's been read so far. But we also want them to participate in discussions about what's read to them. And that's a crucial part of our three-step reading process in school with session 1, session 2 and session 3. We want the children to be involved. We want them to talk about it, taking turns, listening to others, sharing their experiences, but also to be able to explain clearly their understanding of what's been read to them. There is no point in us reading a text to children if they don't understand it, which is why we do all that work on vocabulary first, so that they can then understand what we're talking about. So in year 1, as I'm sure you're aware, if you sat in on our Welcome to Year 1 evening, I think before the summer holidays now, there is the phonics screening check, which comes up in the summer term. The children obviously in year 1 last year missed it because of COVID. We've really got our fingers crossed that this year we will have an uninterrupted year 1 where the children will be in school for the whole year and we can sit the phonics screening check in the summer term. So normally in June, we're expecting your children to take it in June 2022. It's delivered by myself and Miss Wyatt. It's very non-threatening. We do lots of practice as the year goes on. So by the time your children come to sit the phonics screening check, they're already familiar with what it looks like. And the next slide shows you what it actually looks like. You get the results in the school in the end of year report, and we tell you whether your children are on track or not on track, and that means they've passed or not passed. Basically, there are 40 words, and it's your job to use your phonics to sound talk the words. Some words are real, some words are pseudo words. We refer to those as alien words to the children. And yet, as I say, your child will be working at or working towards that expected level. In previous years, out of the 40 words, the pass rate has been 32 out of 40. So if your child can read at least 32 out of those 40 words, they are good to go. And we will keep an eye on that as the year goes on. We'll do some mock screening checks to just see where they're sitting out of those 40 words, what sounds they need to work on, and where they need a little bit of support and encouragement. So these are actual samples of a phonics screening check that I've cut out and put on here. So you can see section 1, the very first one on the left-hand side, has real words that you can sound talk. Sh, op, shop, yell, eel, peel, ch, check. And actually we wrote the word check today in our phonics lesson in our class. So they're all words that you can sound talk and you should understand them. We make it very obvious to the children when the words are pseudo words because there's a picture of an alien there. The children know these words are not going to make any sense, but you can still sound talk them. Sut, yad, d, op, dop, uct. And we say to the children, we know these words don't mean anything, but use your sound talking and tell us what they say. As the test goes on, as the check goes on, the words become slightly harder and involve digraphs and trigraphs and alternative pronunciation. So this is the page on the right-hand side is the very, very last page in the phonics screening check. And you can see there that there are some slightly alternative pronunciations. So we've taught the children to look out for split digraphs. So they would look at that word and they might sound talk it as ode, because they can see that split digraph O. So it's looking at them and knowing that actually sometimes it's not a split digraph, there's an alternative pronunciation, and we need to hear them say model, not model. If they say model, we can't give it to them. The same with person. You know, we say person, not person. So the children need to know the knowledge of words, and then the last two words normally are 2-syllable words. So chapter, reptiles. So you can see how the words move through in complexity as they go through the phonics screening check. This is really not something you need to worry about because, as I say, we are working with the children towards this. They will be very familiar with this by the time we do it in the summer. Any children that we think may need a little bit of extra support as the year goes along, we send home games for you to play. So the practice that you'll be doing at home is game-based so that the children have a chance to enjoy their phonics. And basically, that is the end of our presentation. If you have any questions from that, if you've got anything that you didn't understand, if you've got anything where you think it didn't make sense, please drop the school office a line at office@owps.org.uk for the attention of either Miss Wyatt or myself, Mrs. Ironside, and we will be happy to get back to you with any answers to those questions. But I hope you found that useful. I hope that's let you know how we tackle reading at Autumn with Stowe, and I hope that's given you some ideas of how you can support us at home to ensure that your children can become the best, most fluent readers that they are able to become. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.